the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
All right, we're back here on the Chase Thomas Podcast, where I'm now joined by a first-timer, the head football coach at Hardin Valley Academy, the Hawks, Tyler Wynn. Tyler, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I am doing well. Good afternoon to you. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for being here. I mean, it's we're now in the middle of May here. Where are you at in your off-season program at this point?
We're in the middle of spring practice, so we've got a week left. Really, we got 4 days of practice left. We got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday. We're going to give them Thursday off, but we finish up this upcoming week on Friday.
Has it flown by? Is it flown by? And also, has it been a really good spring for you guys?
You know, I think for us, it's been really good. Season ended early November, so just having that time in the weight room and seeing the guys in the off season has been really, really good for us. We've grown up a lot, so it's been a quick process, but it's been very beneficial for us.
Now that this is year two, and this is your first actual off season, because you get in last year, you don't know what you're walking into, and this year you have a full season under your belt. You have a full season of a lot of guys just knowing you, have a lot more familiarity with just everything about Hardin Valley. How has that knowledge changed how you approach this off season versus last?
Well, it's funny. This is my third time taking over a program, and I think with having done it before, I kind of have a different outlook than some guys might. So year one, that first year really to me is year zero. All right. It's setting the foundation, setting the groundwork, kind of establishing practice habits, how we want to do things, how it looks in the weight room, how our off season is planned out and scheduled, and what we want to do. And then seeing, these are all the hiccups of what you thought you could do where you're at. And then going into year two really is the first time that you've got a clear vision of, all right, this is the school I'm at. This is the community I'm at. This is what I have been dealt. And these are things I can use to build moving forward. So it's been a really good process. A lot of changes for me, not in a bad way, just structure of how things are done in Tennessee. They're done differently than they are in Georgia. And understanding the Tennessee schedule, there's 2 weeks off in the summer. It's the first time I've had, 2 weeks right in the middle of the summer where you're off and you're not doing anything. That dead period was totally new for me. So how are guys going to come back? How do I need to adjust my calendar to make sure our guys are getting to the point we need them at, right there at the beginning of the season? So it's been some adjustment, but going in this year, I have an understanding. I know what to look at, and we've made changes to our schedule. We made changes to our calendar. I've added coaches to the staff, and we've done some things that I feel like are going to be beneficial for us moving forward.
That's interesting. I mean, I've always found this to be really interesting, because you're talking about going in having the year zero mindset, and I think that I think for fans, that's always kind of hard. I think if you're someone who's going on Friday night to explain to them that this is year zero, that I understand you want to look at this as year one, but it's just not. It's not like that. This is not your first rodeo. You started over at programs, and that's just. It's not the. It's just. I understand you want it to be that, but that's just not the reality. Was that something that's gotten easier over time? Was that something that you found last year was okay, I got. People are on board. They understand that this is a year zero, that we got to get through this year to figure some stuff out, go through our lumps, and then we'll be in a much better spot in year one.
Well, being at Hardin Valley, I mean, there's been numerous coaches here in the past 5 years, 6 years. You've had multiple coaches. So I think that the community was kind of starving for a system and a long-term goal. And that's one thing that we tried to come in and establish, that, look, we're going to do it like this, and we're going to do it like this for a long time. And that's where we're going to see the results at. It's not going to be overnight success. I had a meeting with the seniors when I first got here, telling them, guys, right now, you probably are not going to see the success that we want to see here at Hardin Valley. You're not going to see it. But one day when we're going to the playoffs, you know, I want to invite you guys back, have you on the sideline, and you be a part of what we do. And I had a good group of guys, a really good group of seniors that bought into what we were doing, understood that, you know what, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. I may not see a single result this year from all the hard work I've put in, all the time, all the effort, all the energy, but I'm paying dividends to the future, right? We try to build our program on 4 core values, resiliency being number 1, because guys got to be able to adjust and grow over time. The second thing is investment. And that's something we kind of demand from our seniors. We demand it from everybody, but our seniors are held to that investment piece. You know, how much are you willing to put in, even though you might not be the one to get the result? That leads straight into selflessness, which is another thing that, you know, in today's society, everything is about me, and, you know, my name, and I want everything. I want all the glory. We try to, you know, instill in our guys, it's a we over me mentality. And then the last thing is effort. Our guys gave great effort this past year. Sometimes we saw it. Other times, you know, you didn't see it. You know, it's easy to look down at the scoreboard and go, man, that team, they must not be very good, or they must not be playing very hard. Or our kids they played their tail off. We had some guys step up in big moments and do some things that I was extremely impressed with, extremely proud of. And I was proud of the product we put out. We got a long way to go. But our guys understood that, you know, building that foundation of how we're going to do things leads to success in the future.
Knowing what you know now with how the 2024 season went for you guys, what would you tell yourself going into week 1 last year?
Continue to grind. Continue to grind. Good, as Jocko says. I'm sure you've heard some of the Jocko stuff. I mean, when things go wrong, good. When it's not going well for you, good. Because it's going to make you better in the long run. And just, you know, a lot of times, everybody, myself included, you want to see results, and you want to see results immediately, and you want it to happen fast. That's where we're at, the society we live in. That's who we are as, you know, just humans. You want that instant gratification. And sometimes I have to speak to myself that, hey man, it's a long haul. It's all right. And, you know, hold your water. Everything's going to be all right. I don't think we hit the panic button. You know, one thing that I was proud of our coaching staff, our players, is, you know, I've been through losing seasons before, right? Taking over programs before and struggled to get things going. And sometimes when you're in the middle of that struggle, you start questioning what you're doing. You question, man, maybe this wasn't the right thing to do. Maybe this isn't how we're supposed to do it. And you start trying to make changes middle of the season. And, you know, week 8, we're in a different offense.
You're panicking a little bit.
Offense, and you're panic. I was really proud of our guys that, no, this is who we are. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to continue to grind. We're going to continue to show up. And, you know, that stuff has paid off dividends. I mean, I'm looking, you know, just today, I watched some spring practice from last year, right? And compared it to spring practice this year to see, all right, what do we look like? Where are we at? And, you know, we're leaps and bounds ahead of where we were. But it's because we continue to do the same things over and over. And I think that's how, you know, you build things over time. I've been fortunate. You know, I think this is a community, an administration, a school that understands Hardin Valley has not had success. You know, we haven't had success here in a long time. So understanding that it's going to take a little bit of time to build, you know. So our guys are full board, and I was proud of us as a staff and our kids that, you know, we just continue to grind and continue to do the things that we believed in and things that we believe are going to lead to success in the future.
When you look, I mean, I think you've got an awesome attitude about all this. And I think it's so interesting to me because, like, building a program, because now with the portal and everything else at the college level, it's just building a program is just getting harder and harder and harder to do. But when you're able to pull it off, you're still seeing those dividends pay off all across the board. And I think, I mean, one of the best examples of this is, I mean, honestly, the military academy at college. Like, part of the reason that Navy and Army, I think, had good years last year, and they might be a quiet winner in the college transfer portal era, is like they don't have to deal with that. Like, they're one of the few teams that are averse to the roster turnover, and they have continuity, and continuity is such an important thing. When you're looking at these guys and you're telling them, like, hey, look, the wins and losses aren't going to be here this year. The wins are not going to be here this year. Like you said, you're not going to see the dividends pay off here for you guys, but the freshmen, sophomores, juniors even that are coming through here, they're going to see it a little bit more, but you're going to help get us there. You're going to help set this program up. When the season's actually playing out, though, because that's something that's easier in the summer. That's easier in the spring to sell. But when you look, y'all schedule that y'all had, which especially towards the end was pretty brutal. I think we can agree that it was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just go ahead and say brutal. Like, there's just no way around it. Your region's brutal. The schedule is brutal. Like, there's just, let's not dance around it here. How do you keep those guys like, hey, what I said at the beginning still holds true. And if you keep doing these things, like, don't worry about the scoreboard. Don't worry about this. Just keep getting those reps, because that's the program that you don't even realize that you're building for those guys behind you.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. It's real easy to come in and put it on a PowerPoint, put it on a presentation. This is who we are. This is what we believe. One thing that I found, just from, I've done it a while, right? So this is year 16 for me. And I was fortunate enough to work under Shelton Felton at Valdosta and work with him. And one of the things that we did there is we had a team chaplain come in every day, right? And he taught for 5 minutes before we started practice, or we actually did ours in the morning, but he came in and talked to us for 5 minutes. And he just kind of reiterated that same message day after day after day after day. And that's one thing that I took. Coaching's all about stealing stuff, right? So nothing's new under the sun. So that was one thing that I said, all right, I'm going to do that at my next stop. I'm going to do that at Hardin Valley. We do a 5-minute session before practice on Monday, and it's about resiliency. 5 minutes before practice on Tuesday, investment. 5 minutes before practice on Wednesday, selflessness. 5 minutes before practice on Thursday, effort. And you continue to preach that message. You continue to hear that message. And over time, guys know what to expect. And they understand that, hey, man, Monday is Resilient Monday. I got to show back up, even if it didn't pan out on Friday night. Tuesday, I got to continue to invest. Wednesday, it's about the guys beside me. Thursday, it's about playing fast, having great effort. And they start to understand that, you know what, it's bigger than football. It's bigger than this year. It's program. It's not today. It's about forever, right?
It's interesting. Like, I'm a Georgia guy by name, so I went to Parkview. So powerhouse. I grew up on powerhouse football. Like, I was on the sidelines at 12 years old for Jeff Francoeur and Parkview going 3 straight, not losing a game with Cecil Flo and company, and seeing some absolute dudes run through. Caleb King and Sean Dawkins, Joey Sturdivant, like, just so many guys. Like, you just take for granted when you're a kid. And I'm just like, I knew that what I was always going to do. I was going to get into this. That's why I still have the Friday Night Lights itch here years later, is that, like, I grew up on it. It's just hard to explain to people who didn't grow up around it. So the Battle of Five Forks was my jam. But when you're talking about Valdosta and all that, it's just Titletown. Like, I'm at, like, two very different histories from Valdosta and South Georgia football to here in East Tennessee and that kind of thing. It's hard to explain to someone who hasn't seen both sides, but it's something that I love, that you're taking things that work for Valdosta that you can apply to Hardin Valley, because I think that's the same with writing and podcasting and radio. Is like, no one's reinventing the wheel. Like, we all have our own, like, you're naturally going to put your own spin on something by, like, reading. It's just like Stephen King has a great quote: if you don't have time to read, you don't have time to write. Like, that's how it works. Like, you can't have one without the other. So, like, the best coaches are always pulling from other coaches. Like, that's how it works. Like, you need to learn from the best. Like, that would be silly not to, but it is, I think about just Valdosta and Lowndes, and I mean, where that area, my friend over there at Colquitt, and I mean, it's just it's a process though, and that's a program. I mean, Colquitt over there with Sean, he's built that thing back up, and Carrollton's obviously one. It took time to build. Niblett at Gainesville took some time to build and got some buy-in, and they're rolling now. But man, it takes time, and I think that's if you have that year zero to, hey, like if we do this right, we can get there. But like all the best programs all around the South, like all around the Southeast, whether it's in Georgia or Tennessee, they all have to start somewhere, and you have to buy into the program, or it's just not going to be sustainable.
Yeah, I think, you talk about some of the story programs, Parkview, all right? Like, I watched Jeff Francoeur catch a slant, run over a free safety, and take one to the house, 80-something yards. And I was younger, and I remember watching it and being like, dude, if that guy can do it in football and baseball, so can I, right? And so when it came time for me to make my college choices, that guy had an influence on me he didn't even know about, right? When I went to Carson Newman, it was one of the only places that was going to let me do both. So, but it was because of guys that had gone before. And, there's story programs where they're building things and you see growth over time. That's, one thing for me, I loved my time at Valdosta. All right. Loved Coach Felton, loved our staff, loved those kids, loved that community. Love the expectation every week that we're going to win. We're putting our best product on the field. The standard is the standard. This is who we are. We set the standard for the state of Georgia, right? Loved it. I also really, really love the challenge of trying to get a place going in that direction, right? You're
a builder.
Some people are fixers, right? And that's my niche because I love the challenge of, man, why are you going there, coach? You're leaving Valdosta to go to Hardin Valley, and they haven't had success. Why would you? Because they haven't, and because I want to see it be successful. Does this work other places, right? I love the challenge of it. So, you see what good people are doing, what great staffs are doing, and can you apply that everywhere and have the same results? Right. So we may not have the same 5-star athletes as some places, but I really do believe that at any of those programs you just mentioned, it ain't all, they got some stars, but it ain't all about those star players. It's about the kids who have bought into the program and are doing things year after year after year that are making those programs special. And, in today's era where, there is a high school transfer portal, right? Like there are high school kids who jump around and go places. That stuff happens, okay? But there's still a core of kids that grew up in the community and they're doing it the right way and they're going about it. And those kids are the ones that deserve success, right? If you build a good product, people will come. So like stuff like that, I'm good friends with Joey. So Joey at Carrollton, we played ball together at Carson Newman, still following. When I was at Valdosta, that's who knocked us out of the playoffs. So I go out there and shake his hand before the game, and I'm like, man, you got to be kidding. So having played for Coach Sparks at Carson Newman, he did it right. He loved his players, and he held them accountable, and that's all I'm trying to do. And make our guys understand that, it's not all about football, man. It's everything that you do in life, and football is a huge piece of who you become as a man. That's why I got into coaching, the impact that coaches had on my life, and, building it is one of those things that I love the challenge of trying to do at a place like Hardin Valley. So.
Final thing, and we'll get you out of here, Coach. I'm always curious in terms of like so year one installs, right? Like you don't really know what you have. Like you're coming in January, you have a brief idea. You can watch some film from last year and see kind of like what you're working with, but it's still just kind of like I got to see how they handle my system. I got to see how they handle what I'm comfortable with. Were you able to install a lot of what you wanted to do schematically last year, or is this year the one more fans are going to get more of the Tyler Wynn schematic experience this year?
From a scheme standpoint, we'll do a lot of the same things we did this past year. We're not going to look different. The place that I think you see the most benefit in year two is your weight program. And so for me, I take a lot of pride in building our weight program and, seeing our kids grow in that room across the way, right? Like even more so than on the field. I absolutely love the weight room and love seeing the growth that guys can have. It's one of the only places where you can see true tangible results over time from strictly investing in it. So for me, I think the biggest place you'll see a difference is just in our strength and our size. We'll look different. Like our guys get off the ball a little bit differently because they're stronger. We hold blocks a little bit longer because we've had a year in the weight room of doing it the way I want it done, right?
Yeah.
And so from a scheme standpoint, I was in a situation where offensively we had 2 returning starters, and defensively we had 2 returning starters, 2 guys that had played the year before I got here that were going to continue to start as seniors. So from a scheme standpoint, we were kind of able to make it our own with the guys that we had. Now, they were puppies, played a lot of young guys, played a lot of sophomores, 3 sophomore starters up front on the offensive line.
Man, that matters in that region. That shows up.
It does. It shows up real fast. And in any region, right?
Yeah.
So, not to, we saw it in non-region games, especially early in the year where we're going, man, our guys are they're not ready yet. And they weren't, but what else are you going to do? You're going to give them what we do. Here's how we're going to do it. You guys are going to see progress through the season and get better and better. We're going to take time in the off season and continue to get better and better. And then we'll start to see results on the field, that second year. And there's still a big gap, right, between where we want to be and where we're at. And we know that, our kids know that. But the expectation of building it is you got to start somewhere and you got to stay true to what you are and who you are, what you believe in. And we're going to continue to do the things that I believe in until they come in and say, hey, Coach Wynn, we need your keys. It's been nice. We're going to do it the way that I want it done. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be me who my name's going to be the one in the paper. Hey, why can't you win games? You got to go move and go somewhere else. So at least I can say we did it the way I want it done. And that's something, it takes a little bit of time and experience to truly be okay with that we know we're building it the right way. Are you going to give us the time to do it?
I love it. We'll end it there. Tyler, this has been great. I appreciate you making the time today. And we'll have to check back in closer to the summer. And when we get, hey, regular season will be here before you know it, man. Like August will be a couple more months and it'll be football season here in East Tennessee once again.
I think everybody's ready for football season. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Tyler.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.